Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Thursday. I'm Leslie Watkins. And, oops. We've got a big old mess going on here today. I've got a lot of different things pulled out. So what I'm working on is a travel journal. And I'm going to be using some file folders for the structure of the journal, and I think I'll show you that. So let me put this aside for a second, and I'll get another one out, and I'll show you how I prepare the file folder. Hang on just a moment. So here's an example of one of the old File Pro hanging folders. There are other brands, but just your basic kind of file folder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down to size. So I think we can take this off. First thing, I want to remove these hooks. And so I'm just going to line, actually I'm going to do it this way, it's a little bit easier. I'm going to line that edge up to the center of my cutting track here. So I'm lining it up at the top and at the bottom. Give that a slide, and it looks like I've got a little bit left here, so I'll clip that off with my snips. Do the same thing on the other side. Top and bottom. Run the blade. Get rid of that. Okay, so once you've got that done, you can measure, and what I have been getting is about 8 1/4. So I'm just going to double check. So 8 1/4, and that's all fine. And then the other side is 11 3/4. So I'm not 100% sure that that's the ultimate size that I want, but I thought I'd give it a test run first before I made up my mind. I may want to make it smaller, but for now I'm going to go with that. So over here I have a couple of other folders that I've cut down. And my idea is that this is going to be a travel log for my butterfly tribe meetups, and that each meetup I'm going to have a spread of various ephemera, photos, writing, journaling, whatever I might want to add to that particular meetup. And if you're not familiar with the butterfly tribe, check it out. It is a national group of women across the country who are senior women who like to go camping, and they are camping in their tents, in their cars, in their vans, in their Class A's, in their trucks, whatever, it doesn't matter. And they have meetups across the country, and it's a lot of fun. So you can look for Butterfly Tracks, I think is the YouTube channel, and Butterfly Tribe, I think, is the Facebook channel, and I might have that confused, but just check them out. You'll be able to find them, and you'll be able to see lots of pictures. And if you go to my Facebook page at Leslie Watkins, you will see some of the photos from the meetups that I've gone to earlier this year. It's a lot of fun. So I wanted to commemorate those things, and my thought was that each meetup would have its own spread, like you would do in a scrapbook, but then you could put them all together into a kind of an accordion book. So attach the edges like that, and then that would open like that, and so forth and so on. And to do that, what I did was I took another file folder and I cut it into these strips, and I think this is 2 inches wide. Yep, 2 inches wide, and it is scored in the center, so I have a nice fold. You want to grab your bone folder and make sure that that is right where you want it. And then the hinges can be used like so. So you can just glue those on there to connect the pages either right from the get-go or as you go along. Alternately, the hinges can be adhered this way on the outside of the folders. So because this is a work in progress, I don't have all the answers yet, but I kind of like the way all those greens look together. So I may want to do that, and then just use the inside as the spread. Now, another thing I'd like to point out is that because this is a group of upcycled file folders, you can see that there's some slight differences in the color. Personally, I really like that, so that makes me happy, and I want to take advantage of having all these beautiful tones working together. And if I open them all up, I think you'll be able to see we've got some different colors. Now, yesterday, if you were watching, you saw that I had painted a watercolor wash background, which I have since stitched onto a piece of black cardstock. And then I also went ahead and I watercolored and cut out all these butterflies. These were painted on the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, so they have a nice body and a stiffness. You can see that I've shaped them slightly so that they're a little bit in relief. And if you look very closely, let's see if I can get this to focus, you may or may not see that there is a very subtle glimmer. Let's see, maybe show it better on this one. Anyway, I gave them a spritz of a little shimmer spray, so you can use that, or you could use Wink of Stella, or you could not, whatever you like. And I also sponged the edges, and so I trimmed off where there was any excess white, because I don't like that. And then I went ahead and I sponged the edges with my metallic gold, and they are now ready to go. So the idea is that I'm going to use this as a layer on the front of my journal, but I'm thinking that that looks a little bit small for this overall size, so I also have another piece of cardstock that will just make that a little bit bigger, and that makes me happier. I like that better. So I'm going to do something like this. Now, because I used the black around the edge of the painting, I think for a closure I'd like to add some black ribbon to pick up on that. And originally I was going to be using a natural linen ribbon, but I think I'm going to use black instead. And I don't know if I have that up here right now, so I may have to go searching in my stash for that. Meantime, there's also the possibility of using the interior color. This is that kind of medium green, and then this is a little brighter green. I don't think I want the bright green. And I don't know. I like this dull one. I like this sort of neutral tone dull one. So that's the one I'm going to go with. So this is going to be what my cover looks like. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, this is a work in progress, and it's going to evolve and change as I continue adding all the spreads and different things. And because I haven't fully gelled with the overall design, it may be that I change the cover. Or if you're thinking of doing something like this as well, then maybe you want to wait till all of the spreads are completed and assemble before you determine your cover. But I don't know, I wanted to dive right in. So here are some of the butterflies that I painted and die cut out. And my thought is, I shouldn't have water on the desk here today. This is from yesterday's watercolor session. Let's move this out of the way before we have an accident. All right, so there it is. So I've got this nice big butterfly that's a swallowtail, and I can have that coming up from the bottom. And we can put these two little ones together maybe. Have one coming down from above. So I was thinking of some kind of an arrangement that looks like that. The other thing to consider is how are you going to be storing your book? Is having the butterflies be 3D going to be an issue going forward? So I don't want to make the butterflies so that the wings are loose. So I think what I'll do is I'll compromise by adhering them down with some dimensionals. So what I'll do is I'll add glue to the butterfly's body and to the tips of the wings, and then I'll just put a couple of dimensionals underneath so that they keep that nice kind of rounded shape. Also, I want to correct something I said yesterday when I was doing the painting of the butterflies. I think I told you, and maybe you didn't hear what I was saying, but I think I said something about the forewing or the upper wing overlapping the hind wing, and I just want to correct that because in fact the hind wing overlaps the top of the forewing. So it seemed a little counterintuitive to me, but that's how Mother Nature seems to have designed it. So when you're modeling the intersection between the two wings, keep in mind that the hind wing is the upper wing and the forewing is the lower wing, and therefore the cast shadow would be on the forewing. All right, so I just want to put that out there to anybody that is interested in butterfly facts. All right, so the next thing I'm going to want to get out are my dimensionals, because I know I'm going to need a bunch of those. If you're new to paper crafting, a dimensional is simply a little foam pad that is sticky on both sides. It has a a release sheet that you just peel away. And what it does is it just gives you a little bit of extra height to your design, and I think they're going to be really nice for this purpose. So now the next thing is to adhere my artwork onto the next layer, and for this I'm using my liquid glue. Go right over my stitching. I like having all the different elements, such as the stitching and the layers and the shiny bits, and the possibilities are endless. So I'm really excited to see what everybody else comes up with. So I'm going to make a post, and I'm going to put this post in my private Facebook page or group, which is called Watercolor and Stamping Up Paper Crafting Projects. And if you have not signed up to be a part of that group, please do so. It's a wonderful group of creative people, and there's a lot of different things going on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a separate post for the butterfly travel journal, and then everybody who is participating can post in the comments and share all of your ideas and how you're creating your journal, because the main idea behind the watercolor and paper Stamping Up Paper Crafting Projects group is to inspire one another and to share ideas and different ways of using various paper crafting products. They do not have to be all Stamping Up, and they do not have to be current products. The other mission of the page is to help people use up their stash. And I know that everybody out there has a stash of paper crafting products. Maybe it's beautiful papers or ribbons or something that you've been stashing for just the perfect project. And I want to, oops. All right, I'm talking too much and I almost glued this down. I'm not going to glue it down yet because I want to get that ribbon on there first. So, okay. Let me quickly see if I have some black ribbon here. Oh, I'm lucky. I do. Okay, that was fortunate. I did put aside a few things for the meetups, and among them was some black ribbon. So what I want is enough ribbon, and I'm gonna cut off a little extra just to make sure, because I want to have plenty of tails to be able to tie a bow with. So this is probably a little longer than what I need, but that's okay. And so what I need next is my double-sided tape. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball that so it's right in the middle-ish. And then this ribbon goes something like that. All right, now I'm just going to add a little more glue where it dried a little bit. And make sure my corners stay put. Okay, there we go. Woo! I'm going to raise it up just a little bit. I want a little bit of extra room towards the bottom. Okay. All right, again, using my bone folder, and I'm just going to open that up. All right, so that is the base layer for my cover. All right, and I've got plenty of ribbon here that I can use to hold my journal closed as I add the other pages, so I can just leave that for now. And then I'll be able to add my butterflies. Okay, so however that will be, something like that. But I'm not going to add them right now, because before I do that, I want to do something on the inside of the cover. So I'm going to put these aside for the minute. We'll come back to that later. And inside, I have what's going to be my first spread. Now, I think what I'd like to do, and I'm thinking now, because I'm deciding if what I'd like to do is to have a my first spread just dive right in, or if I want to have a kind of an opening page. And I think I want to have a kind of an opening page, because what I can do is I can add a pocket on the inside here to tuck things in that I might want to use as I'm entering in my journal, and maybe have a title page, something like that, and then have my next spread. So that's what I'm going to do. So off to the side here, I also have something that I could use for a pocket on the side here, and that would be kind of nice. I may want to use the same color as the front, but that gets kind of lost here. That doesn't show up so well. Or I may want to do something with the black. I think I do. I'm gonna grab a piece of this black paper. I want the book to hold together design-wise when it's completed, and one of the ways that I can help to do that is having a color theme that coordinates throughout the book. So I'm just going to cut this in half. This is a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. So I'm going to cut this down to 6. Then I'm going to trim this down to 8, I think. Let's see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go from the top down to about, I think, 2 inches from the bottom. So I'm just going to make a little mark. Line that up so the point at the top and my mark down at the bottom. And that's going to give me a nice pocket on the inside for storing things. And I'm only going to glue it on 2 sides. So down along the bottom, and along the longer side, and I'm coming in just a little bit away from the edge so that I have that nice border. If you get a little bit of glue oozing out, just wipe away as much of it as you can and let it dry, and then go back with your glue eraser and remove the excess. Okay, so that's all set. And over here, I don't know what I want to do over here just yet, so I'm not gonna put anything here until I know what I want. I do have this nice piece of, actually that would look really nice right there. Okay, I'm gonna add that butterfly DSP. So I'm just gonna eyeball this. So it looks like I have about 1/4 of an inch or so. So I'm going to go from this corner down to about here, and I'm just going to do exactly the same thing. And this is what I'm talking about, using up scraps. Okay, so this is some retired butterfly paper that I've been saving. And there you can see the other side. And I think this is going to be perfect. Oops, wrong glue. There we go. Now, my idea is to use my journal as a kind of a multi-purpose journal. So it's going to be a travel journal, but it's also going to be a kind of a scrapbook to remember the people that I meet as I go camping and traveling around, and some of the events. It's going to have some of the ephemera that I've collected along the way. So what I mean by ephemera, it could be like a postcard or a ticket or a receipt or a coupon, you know, things like that. And I also want to be able to use it for actual journaling to describe some of the things that happened or some of the thoughts that I may have. So it's going to be multi-use. I think I'm going to also include some travel quotes and some gratitude entries. So a little bit of everything. And that's why I think maybe this size is not too big, but we will see. All right, so there's my little pocket, and you can see I can stash things in there. So for instance, I might collect some ephemera as I go along, but I'm not ready to put in the book, so I can just put it in the pocket. Over here, I'll have a little something. The book, once it's fully assembled, will have a closure tie over here. And now I think I can go ahead and put my butterflies on the cover. So let me pull them back out. I also started talking about making, if you don't have dies and you don't have paper punches, you can also make your own butterfly. So all I did was to take a piece of cardstock and fold it in half, and then I sketched half a butterfly. So I just have, you know, half the head, half the body, and two of the wings. And then all I would do would be to cut that out. And this is very sketchy. You can do a nicer job. Maybe your favorite kind of butterfly. But I'm just cutting around the basic outline, and I'm cutting through both sides of the paper at once. You may or may not include the antenna. You can also use black thread or wire for butterfly antenna if you want to add that separately. And then I'm just going to get into this tight spot here. Okay, so you can make a little butterfly that way, and then you can color it however you like. So that's just another thought for you if you don't have a lot of paper crafting tools to hand. It's, you know, it's not essential. It certainly makes things easier, but it's not. Don't let that stand in your way of doing these things. Okay. So back to butterfly adhesion. So what I was talking about was that I want there to be some dimension here, but I don't want it to be so dimensional that it gets caught on things and it tears and gets wrecked. So I'm going to add my dimensionals inside the center of the wings on both sides. These are about maybe 1 millimeter in depth. All right, so there are my sticky dimensionals, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add glue to the center, to the antennae. In this case on the tails, because this is my swallowtail butterfly. And then just a little bit on the wingtips, just to keep them flat. Okay, just like that. So that is the glue arrangement. And then this particular one, I want to have flying up like so. I'm just going to hold that in place for a minute. And now it's got like this nice little swelling. Okay. And I think that looks really cute. Okay. I'm going to continue on with these other butterfly. Maybe something like that. I might want to add a few more. With the stamps and the dies, I can make as many as I like. And I also have a nice kit that I'll show you in another video when we get to decorating the actual spreads that includes some beautiful butterflies in the kit itself. All right, so I think with this one, something like that. This one I did cut the antenna off, so I can always add antenna either with the string wire, or I can just use my marker and draw them on, which is I think what I'm going to do in this case. We'll see. I don't know. Okay. All right, so you get the idea. I'll add these other ones later. Let's move on to the next thing. And that is going to be my next spread. So book opens like this. This is going to attach here, and this is going to be my first spread. And what I was thinking I would do would be to use this old map as a background, because this map has certainly seen better days. And my first meetup was in New Hampshire, so I want to get to the section where New Hampshire is. So there it is. And let's measure. Actually, if I just pick this up and put this over, I can get a sense. Maybe something like this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear the map into pieces. I'm going to save some of these other pieces because my future travels may take me to other places. So that would be very fun. And I'm just going to let this sort of be in a regular I'm not going to go too far here. I have no idea what's on the back of this map. Let's see what's on the back. Oh, Maine. Okay, oops. Well, someday I hope to get up to Maine as well. So, let's see what's back here. Oh. Okay. All right, so here we go. All right, so there's a little section of the map. It has southern New Hampshire. It's got Boston. It's got the coast along here, and a little bit of Massachusetts. So I think that's going to work out very nicely. Maybe over here somewhere, and then I can add pictures and other things around the other areas of the map. I need to print out my photos, so that's going to be the next step, is to go through my photos and print them out so I can see about how many I'm going to be using. And then I'm going to gather up some of my whatever bits of ephemera that I collected for the duration of that trip. And then once I get all those pieces kind of arranged, what I'll do then is figure out the mats for the photos and how much room I have left over, if I have room for more decorative paper or maybe some more butterflies or something else. So, so that's going to be my next step. I just wanted to share with you some of my thinking on this and get it started. And also show you how all these things are going to come together. So I'm also going to decide, do I want to have my hinge on the inside, or do I want to have my hinge on the outside? And I like the hinge on the outside, so I think that's how I'm going to do it. All right. But I'm not going to hinge them together until it's finished. I'm also going to give some thought to this page and to how I want this to be, and that's going to be in our next Paper Crafting Thursday. So stay tuned for the next lesson, and follow my progress. That'll be number 3, and that will be next week. So in the meantime, stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and share your inspirations with us. We'd love to have you in the private group so we can see what you're doing. So remember, it's called the Watercolor and Stampin' Up! Paper Crafting Projects group. If you ask to be invited in, I will see you, and I'll be able to let you in. If you comment below, it'll make it a little bit easier because I'll recognize your name. So please comment below. Let me know if you're a butterfly. Let me know if you like to do car camping, and if you'd like to go one of the meetups. That would be really fun. Yeah, so that's all for now. I'll see you next time.